What is going on, everybody? I am here with Blackenfist, and we are going to try to predict the plot of Dragon Ball Daima, predict what happens, why it happens, maybe even when it happens. So today, me and Blackenfist are going to dive back into the Dragon Ball Daima teaser trailer that was released almost 2 weeks ago, and we're going to give our thoughts on that. Blackenfist, would you like to go ahead and say hello?
Yeah, thank you for having me, James. It's definitely going to be a task to try to predict this, just because we have so little to go on. This teaser trailer, while it does tell us a couple things, it's not. I would say it's crumbs.
Yeah.
But we do know some things. There were leaks. There are some things we do know for sure. So it's going to be a nice puzzle to solve here.
I agree. So, jumping in first, so we do see that there's what seems to be, not confirmed yet, but we do see what seems to be the demon realm. One thing we did notice is there's a bit of what looks to be rain here in the beginning, but as you go up, it almost kind of looks less like rain and more like, I don't know if that's stars, or I don't know if that's maybe burned ash. But something,
it definitely looks like a very shiny rain, that's for sure.
Yeah, so something has definitely fallen from the sky there. But one thing we did notice as well, especially when kind of looking here, if this is the demon realm, then that would mean that this guy here is the demon king, right? I mean, he does have a staff.
Well, okay. Well, in terms of, okay, you might be doing that leap, but I mean, he most certainly is. In one of the shots, we see a shot of panning around with all like these lighting effects going around crazy, and in the background, we clearly see what it looks like, a chair in the very center of this room.
Yes,
very large room.
Right there.
Now that could be a throne, and people have been talking about the Makayo Shins for years. I mean, people have been speculating that the new Dragon Ball projects over the years, Broly, New Arcs, and Super, that the Makayo Shins, they've been talking about it for years, and maybe this finally is it. And it looks like this is probably the strongest version of, or the strongest potential to be the Makayo Shin than any of those other things. So yeah, I don't know if that chair in the center of the room has any significance. That could be the throne, but who knows?
Yeah. But if that's the case, if this guy is the new Demon King, one potential hypothesis that we came up with, that the reason why he's looking at these Boost Saga flashbacks could be maybe he just admires Babidi's magic, or it could be that maybe he's seeking revenge on the death of Deborah, who was the prior Demon King. That could be a potential. But one thing I actually wanted your opinion on, Juan, is right here, kind of towards the end, you see a picture of Babidi, and he clenches his fist. So what if maybe instead of admiration towards Babidi, what if he's trying to get revenge on Babidi? What if he sees Babidi as the one that was the threat, and he's trying to get revenge on him?
That's an interesting theory, because yeah, we do see a clenched fist with Babidi in the background. However, how would that work out? Okay, if he's trying to get revenge on Babidi, who's already dead, and we would assume if they're the villains, they're going to have to take an antagonistic role towards, obviously, Goku and Vegeta and the rest of the gang. So how does that really work in terms of their dynamics? If they're going to have to be, if they are if they are the villains, which they most likely are the villains, then how are they going to take an antagonistic role towards Goku and the others if they're trying to get revenge on Babidi?
That's fair.
Obviously, Goku and the others were against Babidi too.
That is fair. There is definitely a big highlight on Babidi, though. Not only do they show him multiple times, but there is that zoom in of the clench on the fist. I wonder what that could be implying. Maybe it is admiration then. Maybe he wants to continue what Babidi was trying to do. Maybe.
Well, whatever the case is, I do think I think from this trailer, it's pretty clear that whoever these two guys are, they have some sort of connection to the Boo saga, maybe Deborah or Bobbity, because what they're obviously looking at these screens of and their scenes from the Boo saga exclusively. It looks like
Yes.
it's not just from it's not from like the entire series. It seems exclusively from just the Boo saga. Now, of course, maybe when we see the full scene, maybe there are other parts of the series in it. Like maybe there's some Goku as a kid or Cell or something. But obviously, from this trailer, it just looks exclusively from the Boo saga.
Yeah.
Something that we both noticed is that throughout this entire trailer, there's this little device, whether it's a spaceship or a camera or who knows what it is. The point is, we do see it throughout the trailer. We see it at the very beginning as it's entering this complex, which we think is the demon realm.
Mm-hmm.
We see it flying around, and then most interestingly, because we did think at first it was a spaceship that maybe someone's in. However, one of the most prominent shots in the trailer is that we see a close-up shot of one of the new characters, and we see that little device right there in the lower right hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
Now, either he's really big or that thing is really small.
Yes.
So I think it's probably the case that that little thing is small, and of course we're seeing it all throughout this trailer. So what is it? Well, I think most likely what that is it's a camera or some sort of spying device, and what we see in the trailer is it returning to where it came from, which is obviously these two guys' lair. And when we see all the screens of the Boo saga and the scenes of the Boo saga, it's, I think, all the footage that it captured while it was spying on the rest of the gang. So obviously they took an interest in either, and who knows, it might have not even been Goku and the others that they took an interest in. Maybe they took an interest in Deborah and Bobbity and Boo, perhaps. And that's the reason why they sent it spying. But for whatever reason, I do think that whatever that is, it's probably a spying sort of device, similar to the way Jiro was spying on Goku throughout his life.
Yes, I agree. And one other thing that's interesting here is if you go to the camera shots, that supposedly that little ship, if it is taking the camera shots, if you go kind of frame by frame, they change so many of these screens per second, and I'm seeing some now I didn't see before. There's one shot actually of a zoom in of the Ox King. There it is, right there. Yeah, there's one shot. If you go frame by frame, that one of these images has a picture of Ox King, Chichi, and Bulma. Yep, there's Ox King and Chichi right there. I'm at a freeze frame somewhere in the minute 27 mark, somewhere in there. But if you click and go rapid frame by frame, you just might hit it there at the top. It's a freeze frame of Ox King, which is weird. Why would Ox King, But maybe that's why Ox King was turned into a kid again. Maybe that's just some of the camera footage that they had picked up, and he just so happened to be there. But yeah, that little ship we see at multiple times, and again, a lot of people watching that was like, oh, it's a ship. But if you really look here, in the one that he was just explaining, where we get that close-up, that is a scene that has actually kind of dumbfounded a lot of Dragon Ball fans, because we really kind of don't know what this is. Like, does he just get big? Is that ship just really small? But I think, just like how Juan said, this could be the thing kind of taking pictures, kind of like how Jiro did in the past, right? And we, like I said, we see that ship multiple times in this. Like there's one shot here where we see this little pentagram here, where you kind of see it in the lower corner, and then there's a shot here at the end, where there's like a flash of light, and you kind of see it as well. Yeah, right there. Yeah, see how it's almost, I think it can shrink. Like, if you go to 254, it's kind of eye to eye with like a fish, and you see it glow, and it's got like electricity going on, and it just kind of appears right in front of this fish.
Yeah.
So
we do also see that chair again, by the way.
Where?
Oh, we see it at 256. We see a chair. Obviously, they're still observing the footage they got.
Okay. Wow, they went
Yeah,
from hovering to sitting back down.
and something interesting is that we do see one of the. Well, I don't know if the other. We see one of them standing next to it, so maybe it's the other guy who's sitting on it.
Yeah,
Perhaps
yeah, I
the
would assume
smaller
so.
guy. The smaller guy. Now, of course, we don't know that. I mean, we don't. They could both just be standing there. Who knows? But I do. I only see one guy standing. I
Yeah.
don't know where the other guy's at.
If you look at the bottom right, you can almost see like his hand with like his staff. I think he is
That
sitting down
potentially,
there.
yeah, potentially.
Um, so let's see here. And when they turn to kids, so we're trying to figure out why the Z fighters and why only the people that seem to have been involved in the Buu saga were picked. But what's interesting here is we do see some who maybe not necessarily were super involved in the Buu saga, like Roshi. I mean, he was semi-involved, but enough to be included in the people that get turned to
I think
kids.
the turning into kids thing is the one that really I don't know exactly where they're going with it, and I don't know exactly what clues. I mean, the one thing you pointed out that really I don't know what to make of it, heads or tails, is that one shot where you see both Chichi and Bulma, and in the background it appears that there's people in the background that are still adults.
Yeah.
So before you pointed this out to me, I just assumed that everyone on Earth was turned into kids. However, if what that appears to be in the background they're adults, that means that whoever did this or whatever happened was targeting specific people, which
Yes.
that makes things very interesting, and also makes the intentions very interesting, because why else would they target these specific people?
Yes.
Right. And quite frankly, that one does dumbfound me a little bit, because I at first thought that it might potentially just be all of Earth, maybe even potentially the whole universe at this point, because of course Dragon Ball is very big in scope. So, but I mean, if those guys in the background really are adults, then I don't know, man. It just seems very weird.
Yeah, and I just found actually I just randomly clicked in the timeline here, and I got put on another freeze frame of a bunch of different images that they're looking at, and there's a wide panning shot here where we see Ox King, Chi-Chi, Krillin, Goku, and Goten, and there's Master Roshi there, I believe. It's small, but I believe that's Roshi, and then that's Yamcha there. So I guess that they really are just kind of turning to kids, anybody that they felt was involved in the Buu thing. That's really what it seems like to me.
Also, I mean, another thing here, it looks like they're at a party, it seems.
Yes, it does look like
Maybe
that.
another, I mean, Toriyama does this in the past, obviously. Battle of Gods, the setting was Bulma's birthday party, so there was a very jovial setting. And it seems here that this it almost looks like a party again. I mean, in the shot with it looks like in the shot with Krillin, there seems to be some sort of stage
Yeah.
in the background, or I mean, like there's like a DJ setup maybe like that right there.
And there's so many. Look at the shot with 18. If you look in the background, lots
And
of gifts.
I was about to point that out. With 18, there's all those presents. So maybe it's another one. Maybe they're celebrating another birthday. Who knows?
Dude, what if this is another Bulma birthday? I mean, it happened. It's happening at Bulma's clearly because you see her attendance in the background.
So yeah, maybe perhaps this is another one of Bulma's birthday parties.
Do you think this is a year after Battle of Gods?
A year? Okay, so time
Dude.
placement is weird because we don't. I mean, trying to play, and we have almost no clues on time placement of this thing. If I mean, I don't know. I never thought of that. What makes you think it's a year after Battle of Gods?
Well, the reason why I say that is because we're seeing at a party. It clearly has to be some type of birthday, right? With all the gifts.
I mean, that's most likely.
I mean, I can't think of any other occasion where you'd have a whole bunch of gifts.
Right.
So that's what I'm pinpointing that for. And I would say, I mean, it would have to be Bulma's. And the reason why I say that, if only because she's got all her attendants here. Because Goku and Vegeta, if you look at that shot of them, they look mad. Like, almost like they don't want to be there. I mean, yeah, they just get turned into kids, but I doubt it's either of their birthdays. And considering Bulma's outfit, hers is kind of the most different, kind of the most flashy, right? I don't know. It could be Krillin's birthday, maybe, and they're just having it at Bulma's. But this definitely seems to be. I would say Bulma's. That's what's causing me to believe it's a year later.
Well, whatever it is, obviously, um, I think when they get turned into kids, I think it probably happens at this event. And the shots we're seeing here, like obviously Mr. Satan looking very surprised, Krillin is screaming. Everyone has a very like surprised look on their face. I think this is when it just happens.
Yeah.
So they're like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're all kids again.
And it is interesting. So if this all is happening at a party, it is interesting that Shin and Kibito are there because.
Well, I mean, before I was kind of a little confused about why exactly Shin was there, because obviously Shin is normally not even on Earth. He's normally on his own planet, right? However, if it is a party, and if it is Bulma's party or whoever's party it is, it could be that he was just invited for that occasion. So that could be the reason why Shin is on Earth to begin with, was because he was invited to this party for whatever reason.
Do you think that maybe the party, and how coincidental would this be, is if the party is in celebration? Remember the Yosun Goku quote-unquote party? That it wasn't a party, right? But it was a celebration of, what was it, like a year since Majin Buu's defeat?
At the very end?
Because maybe I'm misremembering the movie, but I thought that the reason why Mr. Satan was hosting that party was because it was like a year after Buu's defeat or something like that, and it was like maybe not a party, but it was kind of like more of like a celebratory victory, well, a party, yeah, I guess, right? To kind of commemorate, hey, it's been a year since Buu's defeated. Maybe, huh?
So what you're saying? This party is what, celebrating that? I guess.
Because what if they took the idea from Yosun Goku and his friends return, and because we do see Mr. Satan here, what if this is Mr. Satan's party? I didn't even think about that. I just assumed Bulma, but dude, Mr. Satan is rich too. Mr. Satan can also throw a party and have plenty of attendance. So maybe this is at Mr. Satan's house. Could be.
Well, here's one thing. Here's one thing about this whole thing, that if it is Mr. Satan related, and something that I noticed, there is no who's missing from this trailer, in my opinion, that I would say are pretty significant in terms. I mean, we see characters like Yamcha and Krillin, who I think are not the most significant characters, but who is missing?
I know exactly where you're going with
Gohan
and Videl. Yeah.
Gohan, Videl, and Pan. And if it's Mr. Satan related, I think it's very. I mean, we don't even see them, And I think if it is Mr. Satan related, I think they would certainly be there. So
right.
I don't. I mean, obviously, it could be Mr. Satan. Like, that party could be thrown by Mr. Satan. But I just thinking about how, if it is Mr. Satan, those three characters would most certainly be there, and the fact they're not shown, I don't know. For what reason would they really have to hide Gohan, Videl? I really don't think those characters are going to be big in this anime. I really don't. I think the likelihood that Gohan or Videl have a significant role in Daima is very, very, very small, because this is Toriyama, right? Heavily involved with Toriyama, and Toriyama, I don't really think has big plans for Gohan. Notoriously, in Superhero, it was not his idea to even have him in the movie. So I just don't see. So if, like, for instance, if they're hiding Gohan and Videl because they're saving it for some big secret, well, I really don't think so. I really don't see them being a big secret. I just don't see them being involved a lot at all. So,
well, I do know that I'm very excited, actually, if Gohan is included in this. He, aside from Goku, and I guess Vegeta if you count flashbacks, but aside from Goku, Gohan is not only one of the few characters that we've seen as a child before, but we've lived, a lot of Dragon Ball. Like, a lot of Dragon Ball, Gohan was a kid, right? So, I mean, to see him as a kid again is going to be pretty big.
I mean, look, As a Gohan fan, I really hope that at least we get to see this Gohan in this. I mean, it was
Yeah.
disappointing enough to not even see him in this trailer. I mean, come on, like you couldn't even give him a shot. Like, but I mean, it'd be very disappointing if he's like if he's not even at that party, for instance. Because I
Well,
mean, obviously, we don't even see him at that party in the. I mean, hopefully he's
he
there in the
might be
actual
there.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he hopefully he's there. But I mean, the thing is that if he's I don't know. It's just very weird that if Gohan is there at the party, why wouldn't they show him in the trailer, right?
Yes, that is true.
Especially since the last movie, he's like, a major part of that last movie. Why wouldn't they just show him? I don't know. Do you think that's strange or maybe an oversight? I don't know what that is going on there. Like with
I
Gohan,
mean,
it's like,
it could be. I mean, they've kind of always been kind of iffy with Gohan when it comes to these teaser trailers. Remember in Battle of Gods, where like they had him be Super Saiyan only
yeah,
for like
yeah,
the actual product to come out, and he was in his mystic form. I didn't get what the whole point of that was. Like, what were they trying to hide, and why were they trying to hide it? I didn't get it. But he's even still a Super Saiyan on the poster, which is still weird because he only goes Super Saiyan one time in the movie.
it was a mistake. I think it was just a mistake.
But
They
that is true. But they did correct it for the movie, but they didn't fix it on the poster, which I thought was weird.
I guess they just the poster's not that important, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's. I guess you can't call it technically wrong because he does go Super Saiyan once in the film, but that's only to give his energy to Goku for the God ritual. But yeah, one thing I'm actually curious your thoughts on is if Gohan is in this, right, and he does get turned into a kid. We do know, like, I mean, we don't know for 100% confirmation, but I mean, Colleen Clickenbeard has been the voice of Kid Goku for quite a while now. So I can only presume
Oh
that
yeah.
she will be Kid Goku in this, but she's also Kid Gohan. And I will say, unlike Nozawa, where you hear Kid Goku and you hear Kid Gohan, you're going to hear two different ways that Nozawa speaks, right? So you can differentiate the characters in your mind that way. But Colleen kind of did Gohan and Goku almost the same. So I'm curious what they're going to do here if Gohan is truly brought back.
I have a suspicion that she'll probably, if Gohan is in this, of course, I have a suspicion she'll probably play both of them. I mean, why not?
I'm
I mean,
sure she will.
she's been playing both of them this whole time for years at this point. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she's playing those characters. I
Could
mean,
you
like,
imagine if they actually brought Stephanie back to do Kid Goku? Could you imagine?
if okay, well, that's never gonna happen. But if Stephanie was brought back, she would definitely be brought back for Gohan, not Goku.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, think about this for a second. Goku's the much bigger role.
You're right.
Goku's
You're right.
gonna be the main character. Gohan, if he's in this, is gonna not be most likely not gonna be a major factor in the story they're telling. So, yeah, just on that level alone, yeah. If Stephanie's coming back, she's probably coming back for Gohan. Yeah, obviously she's not coming back. Let's be real.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But if they did bring
she
her
was,
back,
yeah,
yeah.
it would be for Gohan.
I agree, but if they did bring her back, I would want her more as Goku, if only because I love, contrary to most other opinions, I love Colleen as Gohan. Her Goku's okay, but I think that Stephanie did a much better. I just think that her voice fit Kid Goku better because Kid Goku was older by that time anyway, older than Gohan at least. But anyway, that's on another tangent there. I wanted to kind of get back here because if you see, kind of right here where we see the almost where Goku's flying away, and we see this spaceship. Could this potentially be, or we don't even know if it's a spaceship, but could this potentially be a spaceship? It kind of looks very Namekian in a way, like with the way the door is and that little glass window.
Well, this is something else that we noticed is that this scene right here where Goku looks like he's flying, and then there's that spaceship-looking thing. That this scene probably, most likely takes place on Kami's Lookout because we do know that they go up there at some point. And those palm trees, you know how Kami's Lookout has those palm trees?
Yeah.
Those are probably those Kami Lookout palm trees, and we do know that Goku, Shin, Kibito, and Vegeta we do see them all there at on Kami's Lookout. So for whatever reason, after they get turned into kids, and I guess they're discussing what to do, what the game plan is. Obviously, what's the game plan in a lot of these situations. You go to Kami's lookout for whatever reason, because maybe there's something special there, or maybe the ship is there and landed. Who knows,
Yeah.
right? But they obviously end up on Kami's lookout at some point after they get turned into kids.
Which reminds me, if this is a ship, and if this is Namekian, if we go to that 2-minute 43-second mark, and we see this Namekian here, right?
Yes.
What if this is Kami? And this is a flashback of maybe another ship? Or what if this is another
Is it
Namekian?
Kami or the nameless Namekian?
Who, this guy? Well, I'm just trying to figure out who this could be. Maybe it's Kami. But now that I'm looking at this Super Dragon Ball here kind of get unveiled, and then we kind of see his eye, right?
Well, I mean, okay, that's another
Glow.
thing too. Do you really think that is a super? Because I mean, obviously, to me, when I saw like that sun or the star, and then you see a Dragon Ball overlaid on top of it, it's very evocative of the Super Dragon Balls. I don't know if you think that's literally a Super Dragon Ball though.
I would think it. I would think it is. It looks very much so like a Super Dragon Ball.
Okay. Okay, well, we were another big question is how do they get turned into kids? So, obviously, the biggest problem with Shenron turning them into kids, in my opinion, is that it would be very easy to undo, right? However, if the wish was made, if it is a wish, the wish was made to turn them into kids on the Super Dragon Balls, like that would be a much bigger problem because Shenron would not be able. I don't think Shenron would be able to do that. Maybe there'd be a rule where, when the Super Dragon or Super Shenron does something, it just can't be undone by a lower set of Dragon Balls, perhaps. So
That is a good theory. I didn't even think about that. That could be because we
yeah,
do see Shenron get summoned here. This could be them asking Shenron to undo that,
yes,
but
it could be.
because
Yeah, that could,
yeah,
yeah, it could be. Yeah, that exactly.
but he can't do it because he can't overpower the Super Dragon Balls. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a very good theory. But it does make me wonder why these people who have been clearly looking and stalking these guys over the Buu Saga stuff, maybe they want revenge, maybe they want this and that, maybe they want whatever, but why would they want revenge or whatever the case may be, make a wish on the Super Dragon Balls or use magic or whatever to turn them into kids and then run away into outer space? Like, what was it's kind of just like, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their plan is.
Yeah, well, their plan is very hard for me to piece together, especially from this trailer, exactly what they're planning to do.
Yeah.
I think they have a connection to the Buu Saga somehow, obviously, which is why most of the screens we see it's of the Buu Saga, if not all of the screens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were acquaintances with Babidi or Deborah. I don't know. It's very hard to say. Very hard to say.
Yeah.
But if they are Makaioshin, and if the demon realm is going to be at play, obviously Deborah was the king of the demon realm. He obviously was from the demon realm, so there you go. Maybe there's the connection to that.
Yeah.
As for what it's, I still don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it is just as simple as revenge. If they are looking for revenge, I don't know why they would want to turn them into kids.
I agree.
That's something that
Yeah.
maybe the wish was a mishap. Maybe they were trying to wish for something else, and somehow they got turned into kids instead. Who knows? Maybe them getting turned into kids was a mistake. Who knows? Like,
Maybe he was gonna wish like, oh, I wish for them to all die or something. But maybe somebody rushes in at the last minute and says for them to be kids or something, and then maybe
yeah, something like Oolong. That's old school.
Yeah,
all the way
yeah.
back.
Dude, it would make sense. It would make sense. And then here we've got the shot of Goku. We got Shin entering the spaceship, and it's got a very oval entrancey door, which if we look back to that image of Goku kind of flying away here, it's got a very similar ovally door to kind of that Namekian. Well, I keep calling it Namekian, but I can't confirm that. But it is covered in grass and soot. and stuff. So it kind of does look like it could be potentially the same ship, or if it is even a ship. But we see them going there. We do see Kibito, but I doubt he's joining them. I think he's just there.
Bulma, you think Bulma might be joining them?
Bulma? I mean, it's
Well,
possible.
okay,
Well, we do see
there is
that shot. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's exactly what I was pointing out. The shot in which, I mean, it looks like maybe she's looking at the ship, maybe the internals of it. I don't know.
I would say because of the way that it's kind of covered in all that grass and stuff, maybe the ship is very, very old, and she's kind of checking it out to see, let's see if this baby's still kicking. Let's see if this is still working.
Obviously, I assume that that's the ship. Maybe it could be something else, but I mean, there is a shot of Bulma looking at the inside of some sort of machine. Obviously, the most significant machine in this whole trailer is some sort of spaceship. So I assume that's the spaceship, and she's looking at it. And you're right. It looks like that whatever the ship is, it looks like it's been laying out in somewhere for a while.
Yeah. And we do have this other shot here, 245, of Shin and Goku, I guess, sleeping, again, presumably on that ship.
Yeah.
And then look here, look at 246. There's a big, giant, shining light in a night sky, and we see what looks to be that camera ship of the bad guys kind of shining through.
Yeah, that's strange. I have no idea. Honestly, on the whole, like the light shining, I have no idea what to make of that.
Yeah.
I have no.
Me neither. There's quite a couple times it does it in the trailer, but I think that's pretty much our thoughts on that so far. We've kind of been slowly just been analyzing this, kind of piecing it together, and doing the most important thing I think when it comes to analyzing something like this, and that is asking questions. I think once you start asking questions and you start trying to find the answers yourself, I think is whenever you are getting into some good territory as far as maybe trying to figure out what's going on in the plot. But yeah,
absolutely.
You have any final words you'd like to say about Daima's potential future and things maybe you'd hope to see?
Well, I'm glad that Daima was announced. I'll be honest, it's not like what I ideally wanted. However, if this series, for instance, is earlier, like let's say this is before Moro, or this is before even Superhero, or even like maybe it's like in some gap, like I don't know, before Broly or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I definitely don't want something like that is because if it's earlier on in the timeline and this is successful, then what's going to happen? There's a good chance that the series is going to continue, and if it continues past the initial story arc that they do, whatever this story arc is, they're probably going to adapt Moro and Granola, because if it's earlier on, it's like, well, that material's already there, right? So they're going to be like, okay, well, we're going to keep going and going. Why don't we just do this? Maybe they might even do a retelling of Broly in this. Who knows, in this series eventually.
Yeah.
This is why I want it to be as late as possible, preferably in a time placement that's after Superhero. I want this to be after Superhero. Before Superhero is fine too, but after Superhero is ideal, because if the series is successful and it continues, then they'll have no choice but to continue forward past the end of the series, right? They won't. They can't. Oh, I mean, I guess they could always be like, oh, we're gonna go back in time to retell. But I mean, it's way less likely that they'll do that, right? If they already are past that point in the timeline. So that's the number one thing I want. I just want this to be late in the timeline.
I think after Superhero, I think is a very fair time placement. I did notice something, by the way, that I hadn't noticed once before. If you go to the very beginning, and you know how it kind of counts down through the years, right? And you know, we had hypothesized like, oh, have you noticed it doesn't show Moro and Granola in the timeline? And you could easily say, well, it's because those aren't animated yet. Well, what's interesting here is the first one in the timeline, the first year, is 1984. Yes, and it shows the manga. Then it fasts forward 2 years later to 1986, where we start seeing footage of the anime. So they're not even against showing manga, right? So why didn't they show Moro and Granola? But that's a
Well,
conversation for another video, I would think.
oh, well, yeah, sure. That's right. That's another
Because
big
that's another
topic.
can of worms, which we could probably do, Juan, if you're down. But as far as I'm concerned, I want it to be after superhero. I think it makes the most sense after superhero. But I mean, this is Dragon Ball. This is Akira Toriyama. It can literally be anything and anywhere all at the same time. But I'm really excited. I think that this is not what I was looking for, but I mean, Toriyama does what Toriyama does, and I'm sure that he will subvert all of our expectations and still give us an amazing product in the end. So I'm personally very excited. But we've been going for just about 38 minutes now. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and we will hopefully have another video soon for you guys, very soon. So with all that being said, I would like to wish everybody thank you for watching the video, and I will catch y'all in the next one. See you guys later.